If you watch me, you might wonder if I hate anything because I'm usually such a positive, happy, passionate guy, but this week I have a few phrases that begin with F, F, and F, and they're all fuck. Hero Siege is not my favorite game that I've played, get that straight out there, but because I know people like the game, I'm not going to come out here swinging wildly. I want to be fair, I want to explain why this game was many times a large piece of shit. I have a lot of decent to good things to say though. I think the art direction and graphics look nice, the game has enjoyable music, there seems to be lots of replayability. In a lot of ways, I expected to love this game. But nope. I think the most ideal way to review this game is to first hit up the body of it, so stuff like gearing, leveling, skilling, how to ruin ass, everything like that, and then we can get to the head of it and talk about Endgame a little bit. Let me be forward about this, I'm not going to cause a ruckus and a fuckus about Hero Siege, I'm going to be very fair to the parts I like, so there's going to be a bit of good vibes, but simultaneously I'm going to dump all over any aspect I don't like, emphasis on the ass there. Me clever, me mad as fuck. So you launch a cool game and you're presented with a choice of character creation, and strike one that annoys me is that you have 8 character classes available to you and then 12 others that require separate purchases. 12 characters times $5, that's 60, more like Dixty, because that's an insane amount of expectation for DLC, in my opinion. Now look, I get it, I'm a boomer gamer, I don't like confounded monetization strategies, I get people have to make a living, but how many ARPGs have the TF2 ass Manco crate keys in them? Imagine my surprise when I saw that these loot boxes were dropping. I mean, it's an ARPG, who cares what my character looks like? Am I right? Path of defile my wallet? Literally have not even started to discuss the game yet. Here's a bit of meta info for your Hero Siege understanding. The game was released in 2014, so we've been sitting with this one for a bit of time. Since release, there has been a lot of changes to the game, and it has apparently made many guides and build recommendations obsolete, and it was hard to even figure out what version of the game I'm talking about. Since the game is seasonal and still is being updated to this day, there seems to be a healthy community of players, so if you like people, I do not, you have the freedom to interact and trade as you see fit. I opted, as I normally do, to be a social reject fuckman who sits in his hermit cage and plays the game on single player, and I stink and I don't have friends. So when you actually get into the game, I started as a pirate, Arg Fuck was their name, and I thought, okay, yep, I see what's happening here, this is gameplay, that's what this is. Essentially, you have pretty open freedom about how to progress. There are towns for each corresponding act, with quests that reward you moderately well. Unfortunately, if you ever skip a quest, none of the future ones unlock, even when moving to a new difficulty, so if you want quests, you gotta quest a lot. I normally don't give any care to that notion. I like to just run and shoot bombs, but I made an effort this time, and I don't know if it was worth the headache of doing boring tasks like collecting water, collecting slaves, collecting ship destruction. But regardless of quests, the gameplay is what counts the most, right? And for a bit of time, I was excited. It felt like it would be right up my alley. Little did I know eventually the game would be quickly up my ass, because it has a lot of quirks I don't like, starting with the way the inventory and item systems work. Firstly, you can hold 100 items, but you can pay for more inventory space. Yeah, of course, more of that. But, and then this is a strange problem to have, but the controls on navigating the menu are frankly bad in my opinion. Can you change the controls? This is a genuine question. Hang on, I've done this before and realized after posting a video I'm a dipshit. Oops, yep, I'm a dipshit. Anyway, not wasting a good chance to be a madman and write madman dialogue, I think the system is still flawed. Most ARPGs have a tile-based inventory, but Hero Siege went for the page approach, which is fine in theory, but the way in which it organizes feels arbitrary. Level requirements aren't linear, gear with deemed stat improvements are here, which is something I hate because it usually doesn't take your build into account and it basically insinuates you shouldn't even read the items in question, you should just follow the green up arrows. The comparison between items are hard to follow because the game shits out numbers all over the place, and I'll stop elaborating about this here because I can't even formulate the words to describe everything about why menuing feels wrong. If you play the game, I feel like you might understand me a little more. This is not to mention, but picking up gear from piles is the worst. If there's a better way to do this, I hope there is, and I can only be proved stupid so many times in one video. Since picking up an item requires a button press instead of using the mouse, the amount of times I had to mash an entire boss drop into my drawers in order to pick up the singular item I wanted was ridiculous. The built-in loot filter helps a lot, but until later in the game you're not going to hide every rarity, so it's tedious no matter how you slice it. That reminds me, without turning on the auto pickup for small dinky items, you will loathe the sight of keys, chip gems, runes, all matter of small thing. And finally, you might notice something just by looking at bits of footage for the game, but Hero Siege is so referential to Diablo 2, it's insane. There's being a fan, and then there's being a fuck, and then there's being a fuck fan, and then these guys are fuck fan fucks. Genuinely should have named the game Diablo 2 too, because between rune words, chip gem, progression, item names, the iconography, design, font, and evil, Anyway, despite mental breakdown, you can feel their adoration for the game. Let's take, for example, a few of the items. I'll show you what I mean, side by side with Diablo 2. Let's take the mono. Well, was a mistake apparently. Between the counter not liking that and the defecation in my drawers, I'm not having a good time with this review. Speaking of a bad time, here's gameplay. We have so much to cover, so if I'm being a bit too frantic for you, you can feel free to be mad. As with all ARPGs, we come to expect some repetition, but that's the problem. Here you're expected to endure ass tons, I fucking absolutely atom bomb capitalized that in the script, endure tedious amounts of combat in order to progress into the late game. Now for me, this wasn't even an expectation. At first things were flowing great. I was having a good time, decent enough challenge made me think about my gear and build and stuff, but when you hit level 80, the experience requirement for growth goes ridiculously high, and the gain from enemies does not go up a sufficient amount. Now, in a lot of ARPGs, there's no real reason to hit max level. It's not imperative for power or gearing, but since there's no attribute assignment in Hero Siege, every good item is dependent expressly on level. If there is an attribute system in the game, and you tell me that there is, I'm going to submit a letter to the International Bureau of Bullshit because I searched several times for a hidden menu of stats that I could adjust, but I'm convinced it doesn't exist. Meaning that each level up only gives you one skill point and pretty much nothing else. And unfortunately, the skill trees are awful in my opinion, and I don't like them at all. We'll return to this idea soon. Okay, we're back to why I don't like the skill trees, and it's because there's only 2 of them per class, and each tier of skills is 12 levels apart, meaning that the build variety for almost every class feels thin. Essentially, there's a ton of passive skills supplementing the trees, which might make you think that auto-attacking would be a good playstyle, but no, it doesn't really feel good at all. And in addition, I'm not able to figure this out in earnest, but I don't think all abilities can trigger every passive. Sometimes I notice certain things did, so unless I'm dumb, unintelligent, simple, dense, foolish, senseless, brainless, dazed, rash, thick, inane, moronic, unthinking, witless, slow, sluggish, simple-minded, loserific, idiotic, imbecilic, doltish, dopey, dim, and out to lunch as fuck, then the passive systems arbitrarily work and don't work when they want. That's not even complaining that active skills are few and far between. Seriously, with no ease, because there's nothing extra about the abilities you can choose between. Half the time they feel worthless, or they simply don't do enough damage, and because the climb from 80 to 100 is so slow that you'd rather your build be able to kill things quickly, and in my experience, my kill time really started slowing down, which sucked ass. The game allows free respecs up to a certain point, and I played around with everything I could, with every class, literally. I made one of everything and tried to play differently. It gets frustrating because as far as I can see, there's way more skins per class than builds, which might indicate a failure of design, in my opinion. Everything feels almost the same no matter who you are. There are passives between each class, but to be honest, I didn't even notice them at first. It took until I played a class with a more interesting one that I even realized the system existed. And guides, which by the way are almost all worthless because the game has been redone apparently 12 times, are always indicating that you should just get a better weapon or find better gear. And yeah, I found several things while playing the game that were good, but they required level 100. And of course, they get 3 up arrows, so I mean, they're great. These items are probably build defining. But that grind from 80 to 100 was me sitting in the same zone, killing everything and then restarting, which by the way, the best thing this game has in it is this button that resets all maps and puts you in town instantly. I mean, literally a wonderful idea. At level 100, you start gaining hero levels. They're kind of like Diablo 3's Paragon levels, but I didn't view them as a hyper exciting incentive myself. Also, just FYI, so you know I'm not just a total poser bitch, I did get to level 100 on my pirate. It took me an interminable amount of time, just farming enemies over and over again. And finally, when I got to equip that badass gun I had found and all the other sorts of red gear, yeah, it was like 15% better, and I thought, fuck that. Speaking more about the game itself, it's comprised of 6 acts, 7 if you count the bonus one that isn't required to progress, with 3 difficulties, and I think that there's a secret 4th one, but I didn't figure that out for myself. You can also use the scaling bar to make things harder, and you can have better experience magic find. That's nice, thanks, so thank you. And I feel bad because it's like I didn't try hard enough, but I spent lots of hours playing the game, and I kept restarting in the hope that something would change. I even bought one $5 class thinking maybe they were more fun or engaging, and nope. Thanks, aptly named character, but there's additionally so much that prohibits you from just enjoying the game. Big one is mining. An asshole idea, in my opinion, is the system of clicking varying nodes and collecting ore. The scale goes from 1 to 5,000, and apparently you want shit tons of ore for some endgame crafting. If you don't keep up on your skill with every character, you have to go back to normal and farm ore, which just sucks ass. I don't want to do this. You want some enemies? You want some fuck stuff like that? Well, good, because they're not bad. From the Grim Reaper to Satan himself, legit, actually just Satan. Truly, in terms of artistic qualities, the game looked the look. It did not shit the shat, so well done, props, high five, moving on. Finally, in regards to gameplay, before talking about items and what the endgame is supposed to be, fuck me, sorry this video is getting so chunky, I want to chat about relics. So Hero Siege has this system of finding and collecting little baubles that aid you. Some of these are insane, they give like +2 to skills or a huge amount of stat increases. Some of them are weapons that you can use with a separate button, some of them orbit you and do things, and when you die you lose all of them, and you think that'd be a fair trade-off, but nothing on earth is more annoying than just getting one shot by some random bullshit laser or a ball and chain and seeing 30 relics dump out of you. I mean, if we were on hard hardcore, it wouldn't be a problem anyway, so who cares? But when a new player jumps into a hole and dies, it is more tilting than a tilt table. What a shit metaphor. And since the game wants you to perform platforming, I'll reiterate, in a top-down ARPG, you'll just fuck up and die randomly sometimes. Unless you have flying boots, which remove the need to platform, making me wonder why even bother having the system of jumping in the first place. I call this whole thing a simple anagram of BIMO. That's short for bad, in my opinion. Additionally, here's another minor grievance, but shrines are really unfun here. Normally in these kind of games, you find a shrine, you get a nice perk for a minute or something, and you go on. In Hero Siege, firstly, the UI blocks your vision of what buff you even received unless you turn off your name. Okay. Secondly, the effect you get is randomized and it can be negative qualities. That's okay, I guess, but nothing is more satisfying than running out of your way to get debuffed several times in a row, and the one time you do get a buff, it's already outweighed by your negative one, so in general, I feel like these weren't done good, should have been done better. Oh well. Finally, let's talk about gear. There's apparently 9 different rarities, one of which I never even saw, called Angelic. They're rare, so I suppose that's why, but regardless, this is pretty linear in terms of what every item does. Satanic red items have some unique characteristics you won't find on any of the purple or orange or yellow or white items, or blue items, I forgot fucking blue. So that's the first tier that has a bit of distinctive difference. Rune words are fairly disinteresting, in my opinion, because they're only applicable to things with an item level of 100, so it's an endgame thing. Besides that they have things and stuff, the in-game journal showing all this stuff is very badly laid out. I never made one of them. Stuff, thing, stuff. Each item can be upgraded a specific number of times, which just costs money or crystals. These upgrades bump up the stats a bunch, which is cool. I like min-maxing stuff like this.
Stuff, stuff.
You can craft, but again, it's very tied to mining and collecting of other things, so I didn't bother as much as I'm sure I should have. My single level 100 character, Argfuck, did not have the necessary resources to create things, and I didn't feel like going back and farming to do so. Finally, sets exist, and they seem really good. I just never found a piece for the pirate class, so that's that, I suppose. My god, it's a thick script today, fitting for a thick man like myself, and I'm referring to my intelligence and not my body, because I feel like I was missing the point with this game. Everyone seemed to have high praise for the systems and stuff like that, but I just didn't enjoy it. There's been so much evolution that I couldn't even begin to follow anyone's advice, and things just didn't click at any point. I wish the endgame did end up redeeming things, but no, it's more the same. Walking and attacking with 2-ish abilities. With better gear, I assume you just dump on enemies harder and harder, and maybe some of these more secret areas have a super boss or two, but I can't be bothered. So Hero Siege was something not the best ARPG ever made, in my opinion, but I do hope that you go and try it out for yourself. I wouldn't say it's a bad game at all. I'd say it's a shit game. Fuck you, dick. Alright, that's like what, 15 reviews now? 15 different ARPGs? Who wants to do Minecraft Dungeons next time? No one? Okay, sounds good. Let's put that off. I'll be back with something not Minecraft Dungeons related. See ya, much love.